Hi, I'm Robert. Welcome to another edition of the High Desert Ranch channel. A little truck talk, more like ramblings of a rancher. But, I always try and look at things half glass, half full kind of a guy. And just got done bucking some hay, and the wind chill down at that River Bottoms property, it's darn near 0 degrees. And there's one nice thing is you sure don't break a sweat. But it's nice to be back in the warm truck. I filled up the truck, and the sticker shock, wow, it's gone up over $1 since I last filled up. And no, that wasn't a month ago. That was it's gone up almost $1, and it's been just over a week. So there's a theme to this video, and I'll try and keep it short. I'll try, right? If anyone knows me by now, which welcome if you're new to the channel. I just do this stuff for you guys. I don't do it for fame, popularity, blah, 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 whatever. I do it for you. I'll be honest, a lot of times I often wonder why I even still do a YouTube channel. Just life is so busy right now, but I really appreciate your support. If I can just ask you a favor, just share. I mean, that's how this gets out to people. That's why I started my YouTube channel to begin with. So, is to help you guys out. And so I appreciate you coming along, having this little chit chat and truck. Again, the theme, what are you doing? I guess that there's a theme to that. So gas prices here where I'm at, diesel is now, as of tonight, is at $4.50. Last week it was $3.89, $3.79. I have to look at the receipts. So 80 cents, and it's bound to go higher. I talked to a few of the local gas stations. They're just mom and pop. They all said we might as well just put it up to 5 because that's where it's headed easily. And we're not even into the summertime, folks. So what are you doing right now to offset that with runaway inflation, chaos, uncertainty, economic uncertainty, uncertainty moving forward with, I don't care if it's Ukraine, the Chicoms, the Soviets, I don't care who it is. But what are you doing as far as gas? Gas isn't going to be going down anytime soon. Say what you will, elections have consequences, what have you. It might ease with the midterms coming up, who knows. But last I heard an elected official say, yeah, we shouldn't be exploring more and drilling more in our own country. So I don't expect the gas price to go down anytime soon. So if you can, stock up. Get yourself a gas can, or 2 or 3 or 4. Yeah, they're a little bit pricey, just like everything's going up in price. You're going to spend anywhere from $25 to $50. You don't need anything fancy, but it's going to save you in the long run. You're going to have those cans for a long time. And it's not just right now to beat the high prices, because, yeah, if you're going to fill up like that 5 gallons and it's already gone up $1, yeah, you're already well to paying off that gas can that you just bought. And it helps if there is a power outage or some sort of emergency or flood, or who knows, you can't get to, there's thousands of gallons on the ground, but they can't pump it out because of power shortages. But, if you have 15, 20 gallons sitting around, you're not stuck like everybody else. You're not panicking. I know North Carolina with the oil pipeline debacle last year, a lot of folks are paying astronomical prices, waiting in hours of lines. So get yourself some gas cans, if you can do it. There's neighbors that have the gravity-fed tanks, elevated tanks. Get an order coming, or whatever you can do, go in on it with them, because the prices are just going up. You either pay a lot now or you pay a lot more later. That's kind of my philosophy. So that's, what are you doing with that? And then I was thinking about wheat hitting it at all-time high. It's like a 14-year high. I'm going to be putting together a more in-depth video on some certain things. So I'm kind of hitting some highlights, if you will. Wheat's hit a 14-year high, and you have to consider, at what point is the wheat too high, or even worse yet, are you even going to be able to feed your family? Something that's been on my mind, and I've talked with a few of my those close to me, is there's 3 things that have ubiquitous change: war, disease, and famine. It's a good thing we're not seeing anything remotely close to any of that, right? But I was talking with someone the other night, and they asked me what I would want, and none of the options are good. But I chose famine, only because, it's one of the classic, to use a Bible verse, if ye are prepared, ye shall not fear. And I've been told my whole life to have food storage. I've been counseled to, and so, with the famine, it's one of those things of, we could see like we see in the old times, the biblical times, where it's super hard, it affects everybody, and it kills and wipes out millions of people. I don't know if we were to have a famine today, if it do that. I know there's spot famines happening, where tens of thousands of people are starving. It's just the global elites don't really care about those areas right now, as far as where these famines are happening. So my point being is that, what are you doing to prepare? A, to offset rising food costs, the inflation. I've done various Truck Talk videos on that. And unfortunately, they're aging well, which is kind of an oxymoron, because I would rather them not age well, but they are aging well, unfortunately. But what are you doing as far as your food? Do you even have a day's worth of food? Do you have a week's worth of food? Do you have a month, 3, 6 months, a year, 2 years? Because if it were to come to a famine, it could be a while. That's the thing is, so as I've said, it start out easy. You take what meals you like to eat in a week, and you multiply that out for a month, and then you go from there. And maybe you have your baseline foods. Again, your wheat, your rice, your flour, your sugar, whatever it may be. Beans are high in protein. Those kind of things, easy to store. Now, I don't care where you store it. You store it in the closet, you store it under the beds, you store it in the sofas, you store it up in the attic. You find a place, you bury holes, like dig holes in the ground with totes, and you bury it in those. You bury them in refrigerators, old refrigerators. Do whatever you can to preserve that food and store it, because you'll be grateful you did. You're not much good to anybody when all you're doing is starving, and you got that gnawing feeling in your stomach because you have no food. I'm not an ultra prepper, don't misunderstand me, but but also too, to have food storage is, what if you lose your job? Good thing that hasn't been happening to a lot of people. If you lose your job, guess what? You've got a grocery store in your basement or wherever you've got your food storage stored, and you can get by on things. Again, if there's a run on things at the grocery store, you're not like everybody else doing the panic buying, because you've got your canned goods, things to make bread, whatnot. So again, it's not an ultra prepper thing. It's just common sense, right? To have your food storage. Have a little bit of cash on hand. It's the same thing. If there's a run on the banks, that kind of thing. But I will hit on this with the famine, and I'm hoping to put out a video here because it's March. So we're going to start getting a very clear picture as far as here in the Western United States, especially where we depend so heavily on water. And I live here in the mountains of central Utah. And believe it or not, we are in the high desert. That's the whole point, high desert ranch. And so we only get average 14 inches of rain a year. And the last couple of years, we have been about half of that total. So it is the drought we've had since, you probably heard, since 2000. And it's only worsened in the last 3 years. So it's gotten really bad. And that kind of brings up the whole famine thing. There's a couple other videos. Search them under the Truck Talk thing. Under the Truck Talk playlist. But last year was not good across the world for various reasons, not only just the COVID scenario, but Mother Nature played a role in that, especially here in the United States. The production numbers were lower than what was projected by the USDA, which anyone who actually had a sense of what was going on knew that those numbers were too rosy. My point being is that when you have these other things that cause the ubiquitous change, disease and war, and then you compound that with famine, things can go south really quickly. And if we've learned anything, where some of these older societies, especially like in the Bible, whatnot, or just in civilizations in history, they were more connected with the land, more agrarian societies, where we're not so much anymore. But we've seen how quickly the supply chain breaks down. And so getting things just a few hundred miles down the road is hard. And people, because we're not agrarian based anymore, where people are less likely to have even a small garden or raising livestock or things of that nature. And we just become more urbanized. More people have gone to the urban centers. So, but sorry, a little tangent, got sidetracked. My point is I was looking at some of the numbers, and even in February, these reservoirs out west, especially Lake Mead and Lake Powell, the lowest level they've ever been since they've kept very detailed records in the last 40 years, which they really got full, like, just prior to that. So in the last 40 years, it's the lowest observed levels, even for the month of February. And that's not looking good. And the fact that the snowpack isn't where it should be, yeah, it might be at 100%. But something to consider is when you look at these numbers, when they say, oh, it's 100% of normal, it's a rolling average of 30 years. So when you figure the last, basically we're going into the 22nd year, the last 22 years have been a drought, and they take the 30-year rolling average, those numbers are skewed. So when they're saying, oh yeah, it's been 100% of normal, and 22 years of the 30 been a drought, we need 150%, 180% of normal just to even make up the difference. And where the storms are just, they're weak, they peter out when they come here. Yeah, we still have snow on the ground here. It's melting fast. Some of these storms have been coming in. They just haven't dropped what they need to be. The good Lord has made the month of February where we were below average for high and low temps, so that was nice. But we didn't get hardly any snow, a couple inches. Like you probably heard in one of my other videos, 51 days without precipitation from December 31st to February 23rd, and that was only a couple inches. And then things warmed up, and we got like an inch or so just the other day. So not looking good. Las Vegas just announced they're having cuts. They're determining whether they're going to do cuts for the Phoenix metro area. But keep in mind, the farmers and the ranchers have already been cut for the last 2 years. So if the residents are getting cut, they are going to be getting even hammered more cuts to them. So makes sense, right? Cut off the water to those who grow and supply our food. Anyways, with that in mind, you can't really help a drought besides pray and live your best, and just keep praying, right? That's what I say. Around here, one half of the year we're praying for it to rain, the other half we're praying for it to snow. That's just how it is when you're a rancher, farmer, or homesteader, whatnot. If you're not close to God, you will be, I promise. And so it's just, I think with all this chaos going on in the world, it's one thing of you can only take care of yourself and your household first and go from there. So take care of your neighbor, love them, look for the good in people, and just be good to your neighbor. That's what's wrong with this world nowadays, is no one looks out for their neighbor, and everyone's trying to take advantage of one another. So that's it. I'm going to stop rambling. Looks like it's a 13-minute video. So I appreciate you coming along. Please check out some of the other Truck Talk videos. They are a little dated, but there's a lot of things that are still very relevant, and even more so now. And check out some of the other videos. And I'm glad you came along tonight on this very cold night. It's fixing to get a lot colder. We got another storm coming in, so hopefully it drops more, but we're supposed to be getting below zero again. So here in the close to the middle of March. So I like it. I'm welcoming the snow because we're going to need it come July and August and September. Absolutely, for sure. It's already looking bleak, but stay tuned. Watch for some of those other videos, the drought updates, and some of these other videos. And I appreciate you coming along tonight and joining me here for another edition of Truck Talk here on the High Desert Ranch channel.